Welcome back to the TKO show. Today I'm just going to be talking about the free agent moves. There's kind of a lot of them, so I'll just get started on it. Russell Wilson went to the Steelers on a 1-year, $1.2 million deal. Yeah, he played like shit last season, but I think this is a good pickup for the Steelers. I don't think it's going to win them many games, and I don't think they expect it to win them many more games. I think they picked him up to mostly help Kenny Pickett develop, because you're bringing in someone who's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame at some point. It wouldn't surprise me if in 30 years he's in the Hall of Fame. I don't think he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I still think he'll get in, especially being a Super Bowl champ, 100%. But Russell Wilson has the same kind of style that Kenny Pickett has, pass first, but can still run and is lethal on the run. So definitely a great pickup for the Steelers, especially if they're picking him up to help develop Kenny Pickett. I think is a great pickup, and honestly, I think that's, if I had to put a grade on it, I'd probably put it as B. Next is Michael Pittman Jr. He signed a 3-year, $71 million deal with the Colts. Hey, this is a great re-sign for the Colts. They franchised Pittman to extend contract talks and extend the time to where they can talk more about it. I think a day later he ended up signing the extension, so that franchise tag was kind of useless, but I understand why they did it. They wanted to keep him nonetheless. This was also the first franchise tag that they used since, I think it was 2014 or something like that, when they kept Pat McAfee, which, why the fuck would you put a franchise tag on a punter? That's actually, it doesn't, I live in India and I shouldn't be surprised. Jim Irsay is a fucking idiot. But nonetheless, great pickup great re-sign, I should say, for the Colts. Definitely a great piece to keep around for Anthony Richardson, who I consider to still be a rookie this year after only playing, 3-4 games last year. So definitely going to be a good big body receiver, and definitely going to need a good big bodied receiver to help with Richardson, especially because he really isn't the most accurate quarterback. He sometimes throws the ball over receivers' heads, but with a big body receiver, that shouldn't be too much of a problem, especially for Pittman. He had a great season last year, having 1,100 yards. Great season. Moving on to DeAndre Swift, signed a 3-year, $24 million deal with the Bears. Why would you sign with the Bears? Why? The Packers already don't have a great run defense. Why would you? I love and hate this deal, because DeAndre Swift, yeah, the Bears definitely need a running back, but at the same time, I'm a Packers fan. I want the Bears to suck as much as possible. And DeAndre Swift, at first glance, his stats weren't great, but not terrible. He had 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. The touchdowns is really what I kind of look at. Not what I look at specifically, but it's definitely a stat that if it's low for a running back, I wonder why. With DeAndre Swift being on the Eagles last year, I kind of understand why he had 5 touchdowns. I mean, Jalen Hurts had 15 rushing touchdowns last year. Most of that is because of the tush push, but really, I do still think this is a great pickup for the Bears. It gives them a running back, a reliable running back, someone you know who's going to have at least 1,000-yard season, and is going to be a great pairing with whoever you pair him with, whether it be Justin Fields or Caleb Williams. I still think this is a great pickup for the Bears, and I would grade this a B for the Bears. Next is the Eagles picking up Saquon Barkley on a 3-year, $37 million deal. Saquon had a pretty decent season last year with 962 yards and 6 touchdowns with only 14 games played. If he would have played another game, he 100% would have had a 1,000-yard season. So definitely a good pickup for the Eagles. A great replacement for DeAndre Swift. This is also going to be a lethal offense for the Eagles. They have, 5 Pro Bowlers on that offense in Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert. It's going to be an unstoppable offense, especially with the Eagles being able to run a lot more of the option. And if need be, they can also run a lot of RPO. But definitely going to be a very lethal offense. And I know people are saying that the tush push is going to die after Jason Kelce retired. No, it's not. Combined, I'm pretty sure it's around 1,500 pounds combined that Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley can squat. So definitely not going to die, but it'll definitely be an interesting offense to watch, and it'll be a very fun offense to watch in the Eagles. I would rate that about a B+ rating pickup for the Eagles. Next free agent is Chris Wilkins, going to the Raiders on a 4-year, $110 million deal. Wow, that is a scary defensive line. Chris Wilkes had 65 tackles last year, 9 sacks, 10 tackles for loss. Oh, I feel bad for quarterbacks. I feel bad for quarterbacks this year who have to play the Raiders. Pairing him up with Max Crosby might be the scariest combination that I've personally seen on a defensive line. What the hell? Oh, I feel bad for... Actually, no, I don't. That Patrick Mahomes deserves that 100%. So, yeah, definitely a great pickup for the Raiders. I would rate that an A pickup for the Raiders. Next free agent, is Gabe Davis going to the Jags on a 3-year, $39 million deal. I mean, he's a solid receiver. There's a chance Calvin Ridley doesn't re-sign with the Jags, so it is a good replacement for Calvin Ridley, who kind of had a down season last year, coming off of I believe it was a 1-year suspension, 1 or 2-year suspension, but still a great pickup. It's definitely going to be a great combination and a very interesting combination as well to see how him and Trevor Lawrence work together. But all in all, I'd give this probably about a C pickup, because Gabe Davis isn't the greatest receiver, but he was a solid number 2, and I think he could be good as a number 1 receiver, but who knows. Next up is Josh Jacobs going to the Packers on a 4-year, $48 million deal. This is a little bittersweet, because for about 5 minutes, I got my hopes up. Well, I shouldn't say I got my hopes up, because my first text was to my dad and my brother saying, we just signed Josh Jacobs. Is Jones or Dillon gone? Well, it's looking like both are gone, because there's no chance in hell we give Dillon a contract, unless if it's a small contract, like league minimum or something like that. But definitely a good pickup for the Packers. They're replacing Aaron Jones, who did have a good season last year but struggled to start off the season. Josh Jacobs didn't have a great season last year, struggled with injuries a little bit, only played 13 games, but I just tacked that up to not wanting to play for the Raiders and just being unhappy with the organization, which who wouldn't be? Most players hate the Raiders. So definitely a great pickup, great replacement for Aaron Jones. I'm excited to see what he does next season, coming off of not a terrible season, but not a great season either. He had 900 yards and 6 touchdowns. Yeah, he's definitely... I don't expect him to be what he was 2 years ago and lead the league in rushing, but I do expect him to be a good, solid running back who can help us out a lot. I will say it does suck not having that extra receiver in Aaron Jones, and not really having a receiving back, because I know Patrick Wilson is right now our backup running back, and he is not the greatest from what little I've seen from him in games. He didn't play a whole lot last year, but still, great pickup for the Packers with Josh Jacobs. I'd rate this about an A. Next free agent is Kirk Cousins going to the Falcons on a 4-year, $180 million deal. Now, this deal came out of absolutely nowhere. I didn't think Kirk Cousins was going to leave Minnesota. There was nothing that I saw that connected him to Atlanta whatsoever, or any other team for that matter. This kind of came out of left field, and I believe this was one of the first free agent moves that kind of came out 2 days ago on the 11th. So definitely very interesting. The Falcons are going to be a great team next year, especially with that young core that they have offensively, and Bijan Robinson. He'll actually be able to get some carries this year, especially with Arthur Smith being gone, and some young receivers in Drake London and Kyle Pitts, who's their tight end, but still is a great receiving tight end. So yeah, definitely a great system and offense for the Falcons this year. Or at least I don't know or remember off the top of my head who the Falcons head coach is this year, but I know that as long as it's not Arthur Smith, this Falcons team should be pretty good because their defense was solid last year. So definitely a great pickup for the Falcons. I'd rate this about a B+. Actually, no, up that to an A because the Falcons needed a quarterback. Next is the Eagles get Bryce Huff on a 3-year, $51 million deal. Bryce Huff, I think this is a good pickup for the Eagles. He's a great pass rusher, and the Eagles primarily had that kind of style last year of blitzing and pass rushing with their defense a lot last year. And that's pretty much what Bryce Huff excels at. So, great pickup for the Eagles. I think Bryce Huff will have a tremendous season this year, especially with the Eagles playing to his strong suit. So the Eagles' defense got even better than it was last year. So great pickup for the Eagles. I'd rate this about a B+. Next pickup is Xavier McKinney signing with the Packers on a 4-year, $68 million deal. Finally, the Packers actually do something in free agency. We get Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney, and re-signed Keyshawn Nixon, but I'll get to that in a little bit. Definitely needed a safety. Desperately needed a safety. And a great one at that. We got him from the Giants. Like I said, on a 4-year, $68 million deal. He had 3 interceptions last year, 116 tackles. Definitely a great pickup. The Packers neglected the safety position last year, and we sucked at safety. Our defense also wasn't great last year, but pairing Xavier McKinney with our already decent secondary, I think this improves it to a great secondary. Or, no, I shouldn't say great. I need to have low expectations for the Packers because they always let you down, so keep low expectations. But definitely excels this to a good defense. Definitely going to be exciting to see what he's able to do when you pair him with Jair Alexander. Definitely going to be a fun secondary to watch next year. I'd rate this about an A+. Actually, A++++. Finally, the Packers actually do something with free agency, especially defensive-wise. Next free agent is Austin Eckler going to the Commanders on a 2-year, $11 million deal. This, honestly, is a great pickup for the Commanders. Yeah, Austin Eckler's old. He didn't have a great season last year. He was dealing with some injuries. Only played about 14 games and only had 600 yards. But still a great pickup for the Washington. Austin Eckler is a great receiving back, and pairing him with Brian Robinson is huge because they're complete opposites. They play complete opposite of each other. Brian Robinson is more of a smash mouth running back, but Austin Eckler is more of a receiving back. So you have that option of being able to run options with him and Sam Howell, or if they go out and get another quarterback in the draft, you have that option as well. But still a great pickup for the Commanders. I have to grade this about a B+ pickup for the Commanders. Next is Aaron Jones going to the Vikings on a 1-year, $7 million deal. Why? Why would you go to the Vikings? If history proves anything, it's that Packers players who go to the Vikings suck. Zadarius Smith, I'd put Brett Favre in there because he went to the Giants just so he didn't go directly to the Vikings. And the way he got out of the Jets is sending dick pics to his secretary. That's a different topic. But nonetheless, definitely going to be a very interesting season to see how the Vikings adapt to that with having Aaron Jones. This could either be really good or really bad because he was injured and kind of sucked to start off the season, but still ended up having a great season overall. Had about 650 yards, on 11 games, and was tearing it up those 11 or the last couple games of the season. So definitely a great pickup for the Packers. For the Vikings, sorry. I'm so used to saying Aaron Jones and Packers and associating them together. But yeah, Aaron Jones, definitely a great pickup for the Vikings. I'd rate this about a B- because you don't know if it's going to be a good or bad pickup until halfway through the season. Next free agent was Derrick Henry going to the Ravens on a 2-year, $16 million deal. This is basically the same thing as Saquon Barkley going to the Eagles. Now you have Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and Derrick Henry. That offense is unstoppable. You just gave a great contender last year an even bigger piece in Derrick Henry and solved a huge problem at running back because that running back class or running back core last year for the Ravens wasn't great, and signing Derrick Henry takes a lot of that pressure off of Lamar Jackson to have to run every play. He'll still run a lot, but I doubt he'll be the leading rusher this year for the Ravens. Next I'd grade that about an A. But the next free agent is Tony Pollard to the Titans on a 3-year, $24 million deal. Not a bad pickup, but at the same time, Tony Pollard didn't have a great season last year. He still broke 1,000 yards, 1,005 yards, and just barely broke it with 6 touchdowns. And the Titans did upgrade their offensive line, but we saw how Tony Pollard played last year with the Cowboys, who have a great offensive line. Didn't play amazingly, but not a bad pickup. I'd rate this about a C+, somewhere around there. But still a great pickup for the Titans. Next free agent is Keyshawn Nixon. I said earlier that he got re-signed by the Packers on a 3-year, $18 million deal. I'd grade this about an A+. They re-signed him mostly for returns. I forget who our defense or special teams coordinator is, but he really wanted him back because he's one of the best returners that we've had in a long time. We went through Ty Montgomery. God, I remember the day that we cut him. We cut him either the day of or the next day after the game, after he caught the ball in the end zone on a return, didn't knee it out, which he should have ran it out of the end zone and fumbled and lost us the fucking game. So, definitely, this is definitely a great pickup because we went through Ty Montgomery, and then who was that fucker that we had last year who sucked at both receiver and returner? 2 years ago. I can't even remember his name. He was so bad. But we ended up cutting him, got Keyshawn Nixon. He was a great returner. He's also a pretty good defensive back and cornerback, I believe. Corner or safety, I forget. I think he plays both. But still, really good re-sign. I love it. Yeah, like I said earlier, I grade this about an A. Now, moving into trades a little bit, Brian Burns got traded to the Giants from the Panthers for a 2024 second-round pick and a 25 fifth-round pick. Then, once he got to New York, he ended up signing a 5-year, $150 million extension or $150 million deal. I forget. Nonetheless, great pickup for the Giants. Definitely helps the Giants a lot and makes that defensive line a lot better because they already have Kevon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence. Why could I not remember that off the top of my head? But definitely makes it a lot better of a defensive line. Makes it harder on quarterbacks when you have those guys coming at you. So definitely a great pickup for the Giants. Honestly, I grade this about an A. They really didn't give up much for him. So yeah, great pickup for the Giants. Next is Joe Mixon got traded to the Texans. I still can't find anything on what he got traded for. So we don't know how good of a trade this was. But for the Texans, it's still a good trade. You replace Devin Singletary with Joe Mixon, and you still have a young Dameon Pierce going into his third season. So definitely a great pickup. I think this is a great pickup for the Texans. I'd rate that about a B, B-. But yeah, that is all I have for you today. I will see you next time. Peace.